Parliament. Lindsay Dentlicker, you with us?
Yes, Devon, I am. It's very blustery here in Cape Town, so we don't want to keep our guests waiting for too much longer. So with me I have Mkabayomzi from the UDM. Very quickly, your summation of the Minister's speech this afternoon.
Well, unfortunately, what the Minister confirmed today is what we've been saying, that the government has been failing to manage the finances of the country properly, that for the longest period things have been falling apart because the centre has not been holding since the Jacob Zuma years. From where we're sitting, look, we don't mind having a situation where you make a call to civil servants and public representatives to say they must take a pay cut over a certain period of time because of the situation in which we find ourselves. But then again, the very same minister says in the same breath that they are going to bail out SAA to the tune of more than 10 billion rands. It makes no sense, does it? It's almost like a provider of a family who's preoccupied with buying a Christmas tree at a time when the children are hungry. It makes no sense. From where we're sitting, we're also concerned that obviously when you were looking into the future, the debt to GDP ratio is projected to stand at 95% of GDP in 2024. And that means we're nearing the fiscal cliff. If we don't turn the situation around, we're going to find ourselves in trouble. You've seen that we're going to spend during the same period more than 300 billion rand servicing the debt service costs alone. And that's not the amount of money that you're spending on the social wage. What we found to be disappointing with the plan today is that it's not a recovery plan or a turnaround plan. It's a problem statement. It tells us what we already know. But there's no detail insofar as how to remedy the situation and to turn the economy around. We did not hear much being spoken about certain sectors that they are going to target to try and reignite South African growth. Unfortunately, over the past couple of years, we've been warning this government to say you need to embark on a fiscal consolidation program. They committed to doing that in the past, but they kept on pushing the envelope. And that's where we find ourselves today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mkabayomzi from the UDM. I'm just going to grab the ANC's Chief Whip, Ms. Penny Majidina. Ma'am, good afternoon. Thanks for your patience. As you heard there from the UDM, a problem statement, he says, the Minister made this afternoon. Do you agree?
No, I don't agree. What I can say to you is that the Minister was navigating on a very thin ice. The situation in the country is not good, but at a particular point, the country must be rescued. The Minister, what he presented today was to back up what the President has already addressed us on economic recovery plan. And when you do that, you must start by ensuring that there's job creation and investment on infrastructure is what's going to take us out of this, in ensuring that we have people that are employed, sustainable employment, take people out of grants, because these are the grants that get abused and misused and not do what is expected to be done. And as a Parliament, as ANC in particular, we have strengthened our robust oversight in ensuring that we hold accountable each and every one on each and every rand that has been voted by Parliament. And if needs be, that people must be arrested. As ANC, we're not going to associate ourselves with anyone that is corrupt. All the corrupt people, they belong to correctional services on orange and black overalls. And that's it. Ours is to make it a point that we rescue the country from where it is, support the President, support especially if you talk about social workers. Social workers have been on the front line and they've not been recognized. This budget is talking to that. This budget is talking to education. This budget is talking to the health facilities and health workers. And to us, that is what you need, because you cannot do everything, but you must be focused. And the key 5 priorities that the President has spoken to 2 weeks ago, Minister has just spoken on that. How are they going to be funded?
Ma'am, you mentioned corruption. Mr. Bongani Bongo again appearing in court today. Will you insist now that he steps down as the chairperson of the Home Affairs Portfolio Committee?
We've had South Africans and the Constitution. When a person has been arrested, that person has not been found guilty as yet. You can't act as if that person has been found guilty. Comrade Bongo must go through that trial and will respect the law, because everyone has a presumption of innocence until proven guilty. But when he is found guilty, he'll have to step aside. The organization is also dealing with this issue of stepping aside, because at what level do people step aside? What if in the next 2 days that person gets cleared up on the allegations? These are still allegations, but as ANC, we are taking the issue of corruption very serious, and the organization, when it says I must step aside, I will step aside, and anyone else is what we expect of them.
Ma'am, just quickly back to the speech again, a decision to cut the public sector wage bill, over 30 billion rand in this year alone. That's not going to be a popular decision that you are going to have to talk to your members, your electorate. How does the ANC navigate around that decision?
Look, when the country was faced with this pandemic, the ANC caucus has on its own voluntarily contributed to the Solidarity Fund. We have contributed up to 5 million, and it was out of our own salaries. So we will speak to our members, and our members, they live in South Africa, they understand the situation. We'll engage with them. If needs be that we support that, we'll do that, but we'll get a mandate from caucus. We don't have a caucus that is stereotyped. It is not. It's a very flexible caucus that will be engaged because we understand what the country is going through.
So given what the country is going through, another unpopular decision amongst the opposition benches here this afternoon is that bailout to SAA. How do you make that right with your electorate?
That is not bailout, that is rescue. These are two things. When you bail out something to continue working, but this one is rescue SAA in order to wind up and close it correctly, because there are obligations that were made years ago. There are employees that are supposed to get their salaries, there are debts that are supposed to be service all, then close and start a new airline. That is why it's no longer called a bailout, but it's a rescue for us to be able to round up in a correct manner.
So do you know something that we don't know? Is the airline definitely going to be restarted from scratch?
According to the mandate of the organization is that we must have an airline and that is going to take us forward as South Africa. But with the SAA, with the current SAA, it is not very possible. That is why this one is not a bailout, because we are not saying continue to operate SAA, but rescue SAA to be able to go towards this new airline.
Thank you very much for your time, ma'am, and for your patience in waiting with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Shahan, that is Phemi Majidina, the ANC chief whip, saying that people will understand that bailout. They're going to understand those cuts to the public sector wage bill. And then also a comment there from her. We know she was under pressure last year already when Bongani Bongo was appointed to a Home Affairs Committee, again saying until a court proves him guilty of any of the charges levelled against him, for now he remains a chairperson of a portfolio committee here in Parliament. Back to you, Sean.
Yeah, that'll be something that sounds ridiculous to many South Africans, but that's politicians for you, Devon. You're going to leave it right there.